can't wait to talk to this man. He had a very busy, exciting, celebratory, maybe a little anxious weekend, but it all worked out well for Firas Zahabi. Not only did his brother, Ayman, win in his UFC debut last night in Halifax, one of his best friends, George St-Pierre, is back. Can't wait to talk to him. He's joining us on the phone right now. Firas, how are you?
Hey, Ariel. How are you?
A pleasure, as always, to have you on, Firas. Thank you for squeezing us in after your trip back home to Montreal. So let's talk about your brother. What was it like after all these years? You've cornered so many fighters in the UFC, but now it's your blood. Now it's your younger brother. To be, to be in the corner and to go through the whole process, the locker room, the walk, the arena. It's not a fighter. It's not a friend. This is your brother. What was that like for you?
It's nerve-wracking, of course. It's family and all, but I just like to focus on being in the right position at the right time. The technique, the game plan, etc., and that takes care of the rest. That gives me ease. It gives me comfort. Make sure everything's prepared and we're ready. And I'm so busy with that, I don't think of anything else.
Okay, so you weren't more nervous, more anxious because it was your brother involved?
Yeah. When the time came, yeah, but before that, I was just focused on preparation. I don't think about the nerves before that. I try to keep that out of my mind until the moment comes. And when the moment comes, it's too late to do anything about it. You're just going to be nervous,
Right. Were you happy with the performance? Were you happy with the fight?
Yeah, I think I was really happy he went 3 rounds. I think, it's the first time he does 3 rounds. I think he needs to break the ice in UFC and put in a 3-round fight for himself. I think it was a good learning experience. And I think he's going to grow from it. A fight like that, you learn so much. So I was really happy to see him do 3 rounds. That was the best thing I think could happen.
And what about him? I mean, did he, according to you, from what you saw, because you know him better than anyone, was he more nervous? Did you feel this was his 7th pro fight, but his UFC debut? Did you feel like he was a little more anxious than he was leading up to this fight?
No, not really. Maybe a little bit, but my brother's really, he likes to fight. So he's not a nervous type of guy. He likes it. He enjoys it. He thrives with it. So he's a fighter. He loves that stuff. So it's not really something that he's nervous about. Like a normal nerves, but I don't think, probably even less than most, I would say.
Before they announced the scorecards, did you think he had won the fight?
Oh, yeah, of course. No doubt. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I felt he's the only one who really did damage with the strikes. I feel that, he got the closest to finishing and he got the closest. I mean, he stunned Vieira in every round, and especially in the first and second. So, I mean, I felt that he did more than enough to win.
6-0 going into this fight, and he doesn't fight very frequently. Did you feel like he was ready for the UFC, or did this come a little sooner than you wanted?
Well, it's hard to get him fights, to be honest. It's not an easy thing. Every time, people hear his name, only guys with 20, 30 fights want to fight him. So, I mean, if we're going to get a fight like that, then he might as well do it in UFC, So right. That was the thought. Of course, 6 fights is not a lot of fights to get in UFC. It's not. So, I mean, the guy, he fought at over 20 fights, especially if you count his tough fights, he's probably got another 3 or 4 there. So, yeah, he's going to have to fight guys with more experience. It's just the way it is.
Now, would you like him to be a little more active?
I think, sometimes it's the chemistry between 2 fighters. My brother's a very active fighter. I think it was just maybe the chemistry between both of them. And Vieira, he's a very awkward guy. He's very, very awkward. He doesn't punch in a linear way. And sometimes when you box with guys who aren't in that mold, it's just kind of a weird chemistry between the 2.
And by the way, I wasn't criticizing his fight. I meant more active as a fighter, like fight more frequently.
Yeah, every 3-4 months, I think is a good time to take a fight, because if you do it more than that, it's hard to evolve between camps, especially a fighter with less than 10 fights. I think you should go slow and steady.
Do you think that there's going to be a desire to push him because of his last name, famous family, a little, quicker than maybe you would like? And are you the one who has to be, a little strategic? I don't want to push him too fast. Yes, I think he's 29, right? Doesn't have that many fights. Let's take our time with him. Do you feel like there's going to be that kind of like tug of war going on?
I don't think so. I mean, I haven't experienced that, so I'm not worried about it. If it comes about, I'll handle it. I'll just let him know. I'll be honest with him. And if my brother's ready to fight and he's healthy and he feels in shape and he wants to do it, I'll let him do it.
Okay. And so, like I said, this was a very exciting few days for you because not only did your brother make his debut and win, Georgia's back. And I also said that almost from like the time he walked away, you were the one saying that he was coming back. You were always the one who was the most confident saying he was coming back. So I'm guessing you're not surprised he's back.
I'm not surprised he's back. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think it would take this long to agree. I thought it was going to be pretty easy. He said he wants to come back and everything will be done. But there was some back and forth, and I'm happy. Like I'm not his manager. I'm his trainer, and I don't get into all the details about management with him because we're so busy training. When we're together, we're talking about training, and I was surprised that it took so long. I thought it was going to be a done deal quick. It took a lot longer than I thought. So that did surprise me.
Was there a point where you thought, man, maybe this isn't going to get done, and what a shame this is going to be? He's ready to come back, and a contract is stopping him from doing so?
No, I never thought. I always thought they would get. You know how deals are. Sometimes they take years. Sometimes it's a question of what the market's looking like. Is it shifting, etc. And when it's markets are always up and down. So when it's down or up, people have to make moves accordingly. And I think that's what's happening.
He's been active at the gym, right? He hasn't kind of gone away and disappeared. He's there quite regularly.
Yeah, he trains regularly, but of course he's not training like for a fight. He's training just to maintain and stay in shape. It's very different when you're in training camp. Of course, now there's another level of motivation. There's going to be another level of effort put into the training. So I'm looking forward to getting back into that beat with him.
Did you have a heart-to-heart with him and say, okay, why are we doing this now? It's been 3.5 years. You left on top. You're healthy. You're wealthy, as he puts it. What's the motivation? Like, did you have to know for yourself that he was coming back for the right reasons, that his head was in the game, that everything was, in order for him?
Well, Misha, the only right reason he needs is that he wants to do it. If he wants to do it, I don't feel that he should not do something he loves because he was the best at it. At one point in time, he was the best. Unarguably, people always have that idea that you should leave on top and then disappear. But then you're not doing what you love and you're living for other people. I think he should just do what he loves to do. And, he doesn't have to work. He doesn't have to design his life around ego. Just do what he loves to do. It's an adventure for him. He loves to compete. He's been competing since he was a kid. Why deprive yourself of the experience of competing just because you're worried about people are going to think about you? I think he's a phenomenal athlete, and he's still got plenty of great performances in him. So if he feels like he wants to do it, I think he should do it. I don't think he should listen to anybody and just do what he feels like doing.
Is it possible that the time off actually ends up being a blessing in the sense that now his body is really healed, his mind is healed? Is it possible that 3.5 years away at 35, he can be better than he was when we last saw him against Johnny Hendricks and Nick Diaz, Carlos Condit?
Yeah, I think so, because the last 2-3 fights, I would say, George, I think his body height was pushing really, really too much. And I think we stressed him a little bit too much because he had torn the ACL twice. I think that was a warning sign that his body was just telling him, this is way too much. Because if you remember, after he tore his ACL, he tore it again about 1.5 years later. So
yeah.
I think because he went from not getting injured to being an athlete that doesn't get injured often to being an athlete that has all these little tweaks and then the two ACL tears. I was just like, I think it's just too much. 6 months, then you start rehabbing. That's a long journey with ACL tear. ACL tear is a long journey to come back from, and he had to do it twice back to back. So I just thought it was a little bit too much on the body, and he needed something. He needs some break at least. But 3 years is a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, to be honest with you.
It sounds like they want him to get right back in the title picture. He wants that as well. Are you on board with that idea, or do you like the idea of maybe 3.5 years away, an Anderson Silva-like fight, kind of ease your way back into it, and then fight for the belt? What would you prefer?
As long as it's a 5-round fight. I can't really picture George doing a 3-round fight, to be honest. So okay. I'm not so worried about titles. I think he's done that. It would be great if there's a title, for sure. But if it comes down to a good name that he likes and that's exciting and that's something the fans want to see, I would like it to be at least a main event 5 rounds.
Sure. And do you prefer him at 185 or 170?
I think he could do both. I think it's all about an intriguing matchup. I don't think George is trying to get the title and hold it for another 3-4 years. I don't think that's what he has in mind. I think he just wants awesome fights. He wants to book awesome fights. And if he gets a title, then he'll have that pressure of defending it, coming back. And so I don't know how he feels about that. I'd have to ask him, because it's something, when you win a title, you can't just really walk away. You can't say, thanks for the title and leave. There's going to be a lot of social pressure to defend your title. And of course, you're going to get pulled into that world again. And then does he really want to go back to that lifestyle? That's something he has to decide for himself. And I think he's 50-50 on it, to be honest with you. Because when you're a champion, especially George, all he'll do 24 hours a day is prepare for his next fight immediately after he wins a title or whatnot. That's just the kind of guy he is. So does he want to go back to living that type of lifestyle? Very disciplined and always training around the clock and always, getting ready every which way. So, I mean, it's just it's a lot of energy and time that he has to sacrifice if he wants to do that.
So if George comes to you today and says, okay, Firas, I'm leaving it in your hands, who do you want me to fight upon returning? What do you say? What's your answer? What's your ideal scenario?
My ideal scenario, I don't know if it's still up for grabs or anything, but I was really happy when there was buzzing of Bisping or McGregor. I thought those were two epic fights, two epic fights. One, he would go a little lower, and one, he would have to go a little higher. Those are really, really intriguing fights. There's, of course, Tyrone Woodley he's a champion, etc. But I mean, he has his fight with Wonderboy, and if Wonderboy wins, he's gonna have a trilogy. And of course, we don't want to fight with Wonderboy. We go way back together. So I mean, the welterweight title, I think, is not really something he's thinking about right now because of the landscape as it is right now. But there's always the 180 fight, the 185-pound belt, and of course, McGregor's such a megastar.
Yeah.
That if you put those two in a main event, I don't think anybody in the world wouldn't watch. I think even non-MMA fans would want to watch. But again, I don't make the matchups. I don't do the managing. I'm just talking as a trainer right now.
As you know right now, does he have a fight? Does he have an opponent?
No, I don't think we're there yet. Now it's just that they've agreed on the terms.
Yeah.
Previously they couldn't agree on terms. Now they've agreed on terms. That's not an issue anymore. The next step, I imagine, is a date in place and an opponent. And
do you feel comfortable with him fighting below 170?
I think it would have to be a catch weight.
Yeah.
I think it would have to be a catch weight. Again, I like to get him back in the gym and do a test cut and explore that a bit. But, back in the day when he was, training around the clock, I believe we could have got him down to 155 for one or two fights.
Wow.
I really believe we could have done that. Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe not for 10 fights in a row, but like
sure.
Kenny did. Remember Kenny Florian, he dipped down to 145, had some very intriguing fights, did a world title fight at 145. I don't think he could have done it 10 times, but it made for an interesting matchups, and we put the sacrifice in, we put the time, and he was able to do it. I think George could have done the same briefly.
Do you expect him to return around the third quarter, September, October time? Is that what you're expecting?
I honestly have no idea.
Okay.
I honestly have no idea when he'll come back. I'm just happy to hear that they have a deal in place and it's now a possibility. Of course, there's a USADA testing. Don't forget. So he's at least 4 months out.
Yeah,
at least
because he left the testing, minimum. Right? Didn't he leave the testing and now he has to go back in?
Yeah, because they weren't coming to terms, so there's no point in going about that. But now that they're coming to terms, he's not gonna accept any type of what's it called, exemption. You know how George is. Of course, he wants to do everything by the book. And he's going to have to do the 4 months of testing before he gets back into the pool.
By the way, when did you find out that he was officially back?
I got a text with him a while ago. I don't want to say the date because I don't know if that's released or not, but I got a text from him a while back. Okay,
and were you, like, did you guys celebrate? Like, what was your reaction? You were kind of like, yeah, I knew this. I've been saying this for 3 years. What took you so long?
We haven't celebrated actually yet, but we have a dinner planned soon, so we're going to be hanging out soon.
And we just had Freddie Roach on the show. He kind of helped get this deal done. Does this surprise you that it took for Freddie to sit down with Dana White to make this happen?
Freddie's a powerful guy, man. Let me tell you, Freddie's a very powerful guy. He's a gangster, Freddie.
Yes, he is.
So when Freddie Roach calls, people answer the phone. So no, I wasn't surprised he can help us get it done. Not at all.
He told us that he plans on cornering George. It'll be his first UFC fight that he corners. Is the first you hear of this, and if so or not?
No, not at all. We've talked about it many times. I get along with Freddie very well. We've worked together a few times, and I love the guy. I think he's great. It would be awesome to have him.
So you're on board with this?
Yeah, of course. It'd be great. We love all working together, so it's fantastic.
And for your business, like for TriStar, for you, for Canadian MMA, Quebec MMA, how big of a deal is this? Do you feel like there's a trickle-down effect, that there's more interest, that just him coming back leads to, this kind of resurgence? Because it did feel for a minute, we've talked about this, where there were not a lot of prospects coming out. Now we're starting to see a lot more. Gavin Tucker was great, your brother, etc. Do you feel like George will now re-spark the market to where it was a few years back because he's such a big star?
I think so. I think it will definitely help because, the UFC will come back to Montreal, give a lot of fighters more motivation. But the scene has started to be rebuilt here already in Quebec. So we're already seeing more and more fighters come in. The gyms are always busy. I mean, there's always fights. We have plenty of dates booked, etc. So it's busy. It's still busy, but of course with George it's just crazy busy. It becomes ridiculously busy.
I know he's back, but how long do you think he fights for? Do you think he fights till his 40s now because of the break? Did he add some more time? Has he talked about this to you?
I don't. It's hard to say. I think he's going to stop when it's not fun anymore.
Okay.
But he's never going to stop training, and you never know how fights go. It's always one fight at a time, And sometimes you could be so dominant, and things get boring, and then sometimes it's not going well, and things don't feel they're not fun anymore. You never know what can happen with a fighter, So it's really more. George's mind, the way it works, is one fight at a time type of guy. He's a one fight at a time type of guy.
Okay.
And I think that makes the most sense because fighting, you never know what's going to happen.
And just a couple more things before I let you go. What's going on with Rory? He was on the show last week and he says he's spending some time in BC and he's going to figure things out. Is he kind of splitting his time now with the gym and his old team in British Columbia?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to be going back and forth. I'm not sure exactly. He's been kind of laying low recently, recovering. His nose has been healing. He wants to let it heal once and for all. He sent me a text telling me he's going to be filing daily. So, we're going to be getting back on the horse very soon, and we'll see how he wants to go about it.
But he's still a part of the team?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Just checking. And Sage Northcutt, he showed up for a little bit. He's no longer part of the team, right?
No, he's not with us, no.
And then you had Mickey Gall show up. Is he a part of the team now?
Yeah, Mickey's yes, he's definitely part of the team.
So is he in Montreal now?
No, he's not in Montreal now. He just finished fighting, right? About a little over a month ago. So he's still training back home, and he's got his coaches there. He's planning a visit sometime soon, and he comes back and forth.
Okay.
He goes back and forth like many fighters.
But I feel like something, like it feels all of a sudden, and I hope you take this as a compliment, like TriStar is blowing up again. I see all these people from all over the world coming. The Europeans are coming. The big, I just feel like there's something going on. This great series that the Fight Network put on with you and the fighters and your family and Joe Duffy, Joanne Calder, the dorm. It just feels like there's something. There's a spark. Your brother. Am I right? Are you sharing this excitement that I'm feeling about the gym as well?
Yeah, man. I don't feel the spark really died ever. So
okay, fair enough.
Been to the gym, and I think things fluctuate. It's normal. I don't really worry about those kind of things. I just do my best as a coach, and the fighters do their best as fighters, and things tend to work out. Okay.
Last question for you, Firas. Who right now in the gym, not fighting in the UFC, not fighting major promotion, are you really excited about? Is there a name, a guy, a girl, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, kind of under the radar that is really getting you excited that maybe the next big thing? Is there someone that comes to mind?
Yeah, we have Mandel Nalo. I think he's 6-0 right now. And we have Louis Sanadakis. I think he's 5-1 right now, or 6-1, I believe. And those two are really talented kids. I think you're going to see them in the UFC very shortly.
All right. Firas, congratulations to you and your brother, and congrats on George's return. I'm looking forward to seeing you back there, cornering him, Freddie Roach. Wow, what a moment. And we can do this fight. Let's make this fight. Let's push to make it at the Big O. Could you imagine the Big O in Montreal? We get off P9, we take the metro to P9, and we're back there, 60,000 people, George versus... Wouldn't it be great back in Montreal? We need
a great picture.
Right?
Yep, it would be great.
We'll go back home. We'll get some orange julep. We'll get a hot dog. It'll be great. Go back to DeCarry Square. What a scene. I love it. Firas, I appreciate it very much. Thank you for squeezing us in, and congrats again.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right, there he is, Firas Zahabi. Great stuff. What a time for Montreal MMA. What a time for Quebec MMA. What a time. There it is. Boom, boom, boom. For Canadian MMA.